Okay, so we're going to talk about story collections. Story collections are a Snow story element that is similar to the Related Stories tool. The difference between those two is that a story collection can have up to 50 stories in it. Those collections are displayed in a grid format within the story body, and the collection stories can be viewed in an overlay on top of the story that they are placed in. So if you want to add a Snow story collection to your story, open up that story in edit mode or add a new story. You want to place your cursor where you'd like that story collection to be, and then we always recommend that you press enter and create a page break before adding a Snow story element. Once you've done that, go ahead and click the Add Snow Story Element button, and then you want to choose the Story Collection option on the left side. Here you can add a title if you want, and a description. These are optional fields, but if you place something in these boxes, that text will show above the story collection in your story body. Next, you can choose the collection items link. So the full collection link style will display the story collection in an overlay that has a navigation bar at the bottom that allows you to access all the stories in the collection through that overlay. If you choose the individual story, then when a reader clicks on one of the stories in the collection, it will link them directly to that story instead of using that overlay. I really like the overlay, so I'm going to use that full collection. And then you want to search for stories to add. You can type in some text to search for them, and then you just click on them to add them to the story collection. You can add up to 50 stories, and stories must be published in order to add them to a collection. It is difficult to add a story to a collection later, so we definitely recommend publishing all your stories and then creating the collection where you add them. Once you've added all the stories you want, you'll see them pop up in the selected stories column. There you can click this X if you want to delete them, or you can drag them if you want to change the order that they appear. In the third column, you have some design options. So the column width will determine how many columns of stories are in the grid in your story collection. This gives you some control over that amount of the amount of columns. But ultimately, the screen size that the reader views the story in will impact how many columns there are. So I'm going to keep mine at 250. You also can choose the photo shape. So you could choose square, horizontal, or vertical. The photo that will appear in your story collections is the featured image that you set in your stories. You can choose a photo fill style. And finally, you can choose the text overlay. So the text will be the headline. That if you choose text overlay, that the headline will show over the featured image for that story. If you choose text below, then the headline will appear below the photo for that story. Once you're happy with all your settings, you can click the insert button. Then you'll see the short code in your story body. That means that it worked. And then you want to save your draft or update your story. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and view the story to see. Here is the collection that we've just put in. Here are some that I added earlier just to show you kind of the different types. So these are square photos, and this is a full collection style. So if I click on it, you can see the story that I clicked on, and then at the bottom, there's a navigation that I can scroll through all the other stories in that collection and click on them to view them. If I want to go back to the article, I can just click back to the article. Here is the individual story with some horizontal photos. So since it's the individual story linking style, if I click on this, it will take me directly to that story page instead of using the overlay. And then here at the bottom, I've got the kind of the wider column width. So you can see that there's less columns in, and I've used the text below. Here's the overlay again, so I can scroll through. And if I want to go to the individual story pages from this overlay, I can click this link button up here in the corner and it will take me to that page. So I could comment or do whatever I would like on the story page. That is how you put a collection in your story. There are some options for design that you can set in your Snow design options. There's two ways to get to your Snow design options. You can hover over Snow dashboard and choose design options, or some people like to go to appearance and choose design options here. Totally up to you. Then you want to go to your story page preferences. And in the third column here, you'll see your story collection design options. You can set alignment, you can set colors, fonts, whatever you'd like to change. The settings that you set here will affect all story collections in your entire site. So for example, I'm going to switch my title alignment to center, and then I'm going to go ahead and save all my design options. And now if we go back to the story I added before and reload it, you can see that the title's now center alignment instead of that left alignment, which looks a lot better. So that is how you add a Snow story collection.